This is the Literary License Podcast with your hosts, Vicky Ray, John Wilson, and Keith Shorgo. Discussing book to screen and everything in between. Coming at you from the UK and USA.
They keep it real.
Allow me to introduce Nurse Diesel, my right-hand woman.
Dr. Thorndike, how do you do? Charlotte Diesel. Sure you'll want to rest a bit and freshen up before you meet the rest of the staff. Dinner is served promptly at 8 in the private dining room. Those who are tardy do not get fruit cup.
Who was it?
It was Thorndike. You're making too much noise.
I can't help it. You're hurting me. You're going too hard tonight.
Oh, get off it. I know you better than you know yourself. You live for bondage and discipline.
Yes! Yes, I'm sorry! Please have a seat. Do any of you know specifically what those changes might be?
Well, for one thing, he wanted to change...
The drapes.
The drapes.
The drapes. He wanted to change the drapes in the psychotic game room.
That was the extent of the big change, the drapes?
Oh, yes. Doctor actually felt that color has a great deal to do with the well-being of the emotionally disturbed. Come to my room right after dinner.
No, not tonight. I'm too tired. I think I'm going to turn in early.
I'll let you wear my underwear.
I'll be there.
Hello, welcome to the Literary License Podcast, and today we'll be discussing Mel Brooks' classic films, Blazing Saddles from 1974 and High Anxiety from 1977. And before we get started, let's find out who's with us. Today we have our special guest co-host, C. Derek Miller. Hello, Chad.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's been a while.
And of course, we have Vicky with us today. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, guys.
And unfortunately, John won't be with us because he's playing Noah's Ark and he's taking care of a flood inside his flat. So before we go any further, let's figure out what we've all been up to. So, Chad, what have you been up to since last time we spoke to you?
Oh, geez, man. Since I've been on this show last, let's see, I've had my very first surgery ever. That was fun. Anesthesia is definitely interesting. I suggest everybody run out and try it at the earliest convenience.
Right.
I just moved from the tiny town of Greenville, Texas, where Vicky hails as well, and moved into Dallas in the Bishop Arts District. I'm 2 blocks away from an Alamo Draft House and 2 blocks in the other direction from the Wild Detectives indie bookstore.
The evil city of Dallas, I call it.
I'm in heaven right now. I walk every day. You know, I'll take a train into downtown. I don't
like
know
doing that
anybody.
too. I like the tea.
I don't know anyone. It's great. And nobody knows me. That's not a good thing if you're a
That's
writer.
a good thing, actually. I mean, I like anonymity like a big dog these days. I don't want nothing to do with anybody.
Well, you get it
Like-
here. And I'm here to stay, I guess, because we just bought this place. So I'm going to at least be here for 15 years until we can sell it and move on.
Oh, so you bought it.
Yeah, we bought it. So yeah, we have a condo now in
Oh,
Bishop
cool
Arts
beans.
District.
Cool. Dallas. Love Dallas. Used to party there when I was in uni.
That's why I call it the evil city of Dallas.
I love Dallas.
I like
So
Dallas.
I have a lot more opportunity here though as a writer.
You do.
With the Wild Detectives just around the corner, those guys have been great. I did Texas Frightmare this weekend.
Right.
I'm about to do KillerCon next weekend in Austin, and then we have Spooky Spectacle coming up in February, or not February,
Cool.
September. Spooky Spectacle in Fort Worth. So just stacking up conferences. All the kids have grown up and moved away, and they're doing their thing, and now it's time for Dad to go out and do all the fun stuff that comes along with being a writer.
Right. That's good though. You're where you need to be. Dallas is happening. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, yes. And Vicky, what have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. Just getting stuff done around the house. Things need fixing and repainting and whatnot. And Asher's doing his typical BMX thing. And now he's probably we got him a little motorcycle. He's probably going to start doing a little motocross. So we'll see how that goes. And just hanging out with y'all good people. Other than that, not a whole lot the last week or two.
And myself, I'm basically living life to its fullest. If this fullest means being as boring as shit, I'm living it to its fullest. And no, but in all honesty, yeah, I mean, as far as the television front, I think I was spoiled with The Boys and Amazon Prime.
Me too. Yeah, exactly.
So now everything seems to be weak. It seems to be a bit weaker in my eyes. But, you know, I'm still watching my reality programs like Ink Master. Still loving that. And watching Pose, and Glow is back on Netflix. So I started watching.
Oh, they do a new season. Wentworth has a new season out too. They've got their last 8 episodes out for this season. I'm only like up to 3, but it's good as per usual. It's a great series, and and Glow is just fantastic. I didn't know they had theirs out yet. So
yeah, it started yesterday, so I watched the first 3. It's enjoyable.
It is. I think it's funny. I think the writing, at least for the last season, was excellent. I thought it was hysterical.
And to no further ado, what we're going to do is going to cut to a public service announcement from Eli Roth and David Jerome about the shark finning industry. So please listen to this PSA, and we'll be back with you after a word for these people.
Hi, I'm Eli Roth. And I'm underwater cinematographer Joe Romero. We're here on behalf of our friends at Shark Allies. There's a very important moment happening right now in Florida legislature, and we need your support.
Florida imports and exports more shark fins than any place in the country.
And there's a bill on the table to ban it completely. Shark finning is illegal in the U.S., but the shark fin trade is not. It's only illegal in 12 states.
Florida will be the 13th state out of all 50 to adopt the no shark fin trade policy.
Even though the shark finning is illegal, the trade is actually driving more illegal activity. If we eliminate the trade, we can eliminate finning.
We lose an estimated 100 million sharks a year. It's 11,000 sharks an hour and 3 sharks a second. No animal can keep up with that. That's mass extinction.
Go here and sign this petition and let your voice be heard. And follow our friends at Shark Allies. Whether you are from Florida or not, we need your help.
Let's ban the shark fin trade completely.
So thank you to Eli Roth and David Jerome for that insightful information about the shark finning trade that's happening in Florida. And you too can make a difference by signing the petition over on their website, which you can find in our show notes, and it'll be available on our website. We will be having more information from them in our season 2 finale, and we'll have a little bit more information about the shark finning trade. And I suggest that everyone get involved, because sharks are becoming extinct to the point of almost 10,000 per day being killed. And if you don't save the sharks today, your children will not have them for tomorrow. So going back into our programming, we're discussing Blazing Saddles, the 1974 American satirical comedy Western film directed by Mel Brooks. It was starring Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder. The film was written by Brooks, Andrew Bergman, Richard Pryor, and Norman Sternberg, and Al Uger, and was based on the Bergman story and draft. The film received generally positive reviews from the critics and audiences and was nominated for 3 Academy Awards and is ranked number 6 on the American Film Institute of 100 Years at 100 Laughs list. Brooks appears in 3 supporting roles as Governor William J. Lee Pantomime, a Yiddish-speaking Native American chief, and a director in line to help invade Rock Ridge, a nod to Hitchcock. He also dubs lines for one of Lily von Stroop's backing troupe. The supporting cast includes Slim Pickens, Alex Karras, and David Hulston, as well as Brooks regulars Dom DeLuise, Madeleine Kahn, and Harvey Korman. Bandleader Count Basie does make a cameo as himself. The film does satirize the racism obscured by myth-making Hollywood accountants of the American West, with the hero being a black sheriff in an all-white town. The film is full of deliberate anachronisms, from the Count Basie Orchestra playing April in Paris in the Wild West, to Slim Pickens referring to the wide world of sports to the German army of World War II. So
you have to explain the wide world of sports to me. I caught everything, but I didn't catch that one wide world of sports.
Wide World of Sports basically is, think of Howard Cosell back when we were growing up. That was the Wide World of Sports on ABC television.
Okay,
And,
I thought other than that, there was a different narrative they were going for when they did satirize that.
No, that was pretty much
I remember seeing what in the wide world of sports is going on here. That's
so, Chad, do you have anything about the making of Blazing Saddles?
This movie, I remember seeing it at a very, very early age. And after that, I remember it almost being on repeat growing up. My grandfather and my father both were very big fans of this movie as well. And I think growing up, I'm not sure if I even understood what they were trying to do. I just thought they were trying to be funny. But the older you get and the more you experience, I mean, it's
you realize.
It's a way, really. I mean, of course it's hilarious, but they're trying to break down all the racial stereotypes, and being a stupid little white kid, you think, oh my goodness, they're saying the N-word so much, they're being so offensive.
I know. I mean, I don't know how many times I counted watching the unedited version on Amazon. But when you think about it, it probably did more for race relations than anything else, actually, before everybody starts screwing it up again.
I think they're making more fun of white people in this movie than any other race.
Basically, I think you're right, because people, just the way they were looking at the black men doing the railroad, and they ended up doing the stupid dance, the Camptown lady, sing this song, the
redneck stereotype is just, they just throw it on the ground and stomp on it, and it's if you don't realize that, then you're probably one of the people that they're making fun of. I don't know.
Our younger viewers, though, that aren't our age, they don't realize, like the 70s, especially, we probably remember mostly, how people were back then. And it was kind of funny because they always put black people in this like 1930s, whatever, the Uncle Sambo thing where they talked Benny and, they were illiterate, unintelligent human beings. And then, they're making fun of white people because we were being illiterate, uninformed human beings at the time.
I always think of the one, he was either a butler or a cook in all the Three Stooges episodes.
Oh, and yeah.
That was I can't remember his name, but that was just the stereotypical Hollywood, the entertainment industry of how they viewed the black community, I guess. And this movie came out, like I said, as a child, an impressionable youth watching this movie, and just still today, this movie still has the same impact today.
Dudley Dickerson.
Yeah,
and he was the guy that used to have the white hat on, and he was the cook, and they always made him look scared of everything. Oh my God, I totally forgot about him. He was brilliant.
I think there should be a competition between him and the guy from Ghost Adventures as to who has the best O face.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, he was funny. He really was.
I mean, some interesting things about the making of the film, basically, is that Frankie Lane, was basically supposed to be doing the music. So Mel Brooks came up to him and said, we're looking for someone to do the theme music for Blazing Saddles and to be able to carry a commentary throughout the film. And Frankie Lane apparently showed up and sang his heart out. And eventually they didn't go with Frankie Lane because Mel Brooks did not have the heart to tell Frankie Lane that it was actually a spoof, because Frankie Lane didn't understand that the songs were a spoof. Another quite interesting aspect of it is that Richard Pryor was originally supposed to be playing Sheriff Bart, but the studio, claiming his history of drug arrest, made him uninsurable, and they refused to finance the film with Pryor as the star. So Pryor would stay on to actually help write Blazing Saddles, and he would be, of course, replaced by Cleavon Little.
And then there was Madeleine Kahn's, when she was appearing to try out for the part, and apparently Mel Brooks asked Madeleine Kahn if he could see her legs, and she goes, "Oh, it's that kind of movie," or something to that nature, and then it was just all about her legs, so she could sit in the chair the way she did backwards for her Lily Von, what was it, the Teutonic, the Teutonic tits or whatever.
Lily legs, Lily.
But another interesting thing about Mel Brooks, himself thought they were using the N-word a bit too much. And when you asked Richard Pryor goes, "No, use it more. And so all the references in here that does use the N-word are all written by Richard Pryor himself. So before we go into the talking about the film itself, what we're going to do is cut to a commercial break and to the trailer for Blazing Saddles. We'll be back after a word from our sponsor.
Amazon. Oops, wrong Amazon. Although we both contain an array of diversity, the rainforest with all of its animals and us with all of our products, come check us over today and find all the products you need quickly and efficiently. And buy it with one click. And now you can even use us to donate to your favorite charities using Amazon Smile. Amazon Smile is worth your while. Come check us out today.
Torn from the fiery pages of the mightiest annals of the West comes the supreme saga in the great tradition of frontier drama.
Schwarzes.
Blazing saddle, he wore a shining star. His job to offer battle to bad men near and far.
What's your name?
Well, my name is Jim, but most people call me Jim.
Well, do your best. Let's see. Where were we?
Oh, Rock Ridge.
Rock Ridge. I want that land. Clumsy fool.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. There might be a legal precedent. Of course. Land snatching. Let's see. Land. Sea snatch.
Hello, handsome. Is that a 10-gallon hat?
So just sign this right here.
Oh, okay, give us a hand here.
All right, sir.
Work.
Okay, folks, let's wind out!
The heroic sheriff rallies his citizens in the wildest finish the West has ever seen, or the movies have ever shown.
Ow! Oh, ow! Have you ever seen such cruelty?
We are one planet. We share one extraordinary home. We are millions of wonders, but we are all one world. If we only get one chance to save our planet, to protect it for the next generation, then we have to take it. This is our chance. This is our fight. For our planet, for our home, For all of us, join WWF today.
So, welcome back to the Literary License Podcast, and we're discussing Blazing Saddles. So, Chad, what are your thoughts about Blazing Saddles?
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the very first time on film that they allowed someone to fart? I've read that somewhere before.
Well, not, I don't think in that capacity. I've never seen, and I've seen a lot of movies. We cover a lot. I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, I've never see anybody fart once, let alone sit around a campfire and just let it rip like for at least a whole minute during filming. So no, I don't know about that.
Well, the interesting thing about this scene is that Mel Brooks said when he was putting this scene together, because Mel Brooks was a lover of the old Hollywood Westerns, from all the John Ford, John Wayne films, et cetera, et cetera. And he said they would always sit around the campfire and eat these beans and franks, and then, with the bread on their tin plate. And then, but no one ever referenced it. So he thought, okay, I'm going to reference this. And of course, we have the classic scene. And he said after this scene came out, that Hollywood films never showed people sitting around a campfire ever again.
They did ask John Wayne to play in this movie, but he said he'd love to watch it, but he said he regretfully declined. But he said he would look forward to seeing it.
I mean, going back to some of the racism terms, I think it's quite interesting that in the 70s, we did have ways of dealing with racism, which was a bit different than how we deal with it today. Today, what we do is we tend to stample people down on the ground, hold their face under the water until they drown because they won't accept the ideologies that more of the liberals tend to have. But back in this day, if you remember, we used to have like Archie Bunker, and how we would address things like racism is you would show it in a way that we show people who are overtly racist, and that would help you realize how racism was wrong. And I think that this was actually a better way of dealing with things like that, like in Blazing Saddles, than the way we do it today. So,
no, I've had several Black friends over the years that have never seen this movie, and it almost felt from time to time like it was my lot in life to share this film with them for the very first time. Mm-hmm. And I think they were laughing harder than I was. At first I was like, oh, they're going to be so offended, but they were laughing harder than I was, because it's so taboo now that I didn't know what to expect. And I know a couple of them that immediately left my house and went and bought their own copy to take home and share with their family, because they had been avoiding this movie for years as well.
The film pokes fun at a bunch of different people as well. And I think that it's quite interesting because I was watching an old episode of Maude. And if you remember, Maude, Good Times is a spinoff of Maude. And so we had Esther Roll play the part of the housekeeper. And the very first episode that she appears in here is that Maude's doing everything out of her way to make her feel like she's equal to her.
Right.
That Florence Evans is going to be equal to her, that she's more than a maid, she can be a member of the family. And as Maude's going through the program, she's becoming more and more kind of racist, because she's not treating her like an equal, she's like treating her like a subhuman. It's like, oh, don't use the back door, use the front door. Oh, I'll carry that for you, and all this other stuff, to the point
sounds like overkill to me.
Well, it got to the point that, where Florence, the big punchline of the whole series is that Florida Evans basically has it out with it. She goes, I use the back door because it's closer. I go, you making me carry all the groceries to the front door is a longer way around. Second of all, I'm not part of your family. I'm working for you. And third, if you keep acting this way, I'm never going to work for you again, because I'm coming here to do a job and you're making me feel very uncomfortable.
Right.
And it was quite interesting to see how this is played. Now, in relation to Blazing Saddles, what we have is we do have overt racism going on, but there are people who are uneducated and people who are not the brightest. And I thought that it was quite interesting how Mel Brooks played this, because when they decide to bring in a black sheriff to take over this racist town, and he proves how stupid these people are by when they're going to shoot him, and he's like, he holds himself hostage, and he gets himself
do what he say.
Right then and there, it showed, basically, I thought it was very intelligent the way they do that, because they were able to deal with the overt racism and show how wrong it was, but at the same point showing how stupid these people are for being racist. And I think that's probably the talent of Mel Brooks for Blazing Saddles and his whole is able to take something, I mean, it's very satirical in its performance, but it's quite interesting the way that he's able to make you realize things through comedy and through laughter to help set the balance more straight and more right in this aspect. And which is a shame, because if you have comedy today, you can't really mention anything today, whereas comedy's kind of dying a slow and utter death at the moment.
Right.
But he showed that with comedy, you can address very serious issues from, war on all the way straight through, even to the management of women, the way women are handled in this movie as well, and the way they're treated. And you can do all that with comedy and address everything, still get a laugh, still enjoy yourself, but not hammer someone over the head with it with a sledgehammer. So
I think that was the whole point, though, to present the issues as they were, like, sexism, racism, things like that. And they made it funny, but also they made it in such a way where it was so funny you had to notice it and realize how insane that the issues were to begin with, that people were really acting this way. But they did it where you knew, you laughed about it, but you knew that they were presenting the issue.
Well, the funny is I think where the comedy stands is that they're never making fun of the black person. It's the white person.
No, it is the white person.
They're the butt of the joke, really, all the way through it.
Well, it was really bad back then. I mean, I know we have our issues now, but back then it was just the 70s. I don't remember much of it, but you knew, that things were a lot more oppressive.
I think in the 70s, I think things were addressed a lot better. I mean, we did have a lot of black television programming at that time. We had Sanford and Son, we had What's Happening, we had The Jeffersons, we had Good Times, and the list goes on and on. I think where things kind of went a bit off is basically in the mid 80s on today, where all of a sudden we need to upper white class our black families. And then what we got was
the Cosby's.
Well, Cosby's wasn't as bad. I think that there are other shows that came were kind of like, it became like a this and them kind of situation. Cosby and Different World wasn't like this, but there was other programming that were, I guess the comedy writers are not as brilliant today or as they were back then. They knew how to address issues and handle issues in a lot better ways in a more of a realistic manner without.
But don't you think, though, that if Blazing Saddles was done today, it would be well received? I don't think so. I think that it would be like picketed, just everything. I think there'd be outrage.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, I think that people have lost their sense of
humor.
Well, not just sense of humor, but a sense of everything else. For instance, there is a film coming out called The Hunt that's coming out. And
yep. That didn't go over well.
About hunted liberals hunting down and murdering Trump supporters. Now, the thing is, both sides are up in arms about this film. But the thing is I think I wrote on social media, I think they should release it because it addresses those kind of issues. Okay, it's done in a fantasy world, it's done through horror.
I think they thought it was in poor taste because we had 2 mass shootings here. And I think that they thought it was too soon or something like that.
Well, I'm sorry, but the film was in production way before the mass shooting.
Exactly.
Let's face it. It's not like, oh, mass shooting, let's do a film. Okay, this film's going to be out next month, sort of thing. So,
I think they stopped the trailers on TV. I don't think they're airing the trailers on TV.
But people are more offended for the simple fact, like, oh my God, they're showing liberals shooting Trump supporters. It shouldn't be like this. And the Trump supporters are upset because it shows the liberals shooting. And the liberals are upset going, oh, we're not violent.
Well, I think the whole reason is the Trump supporters are all armed and stuff. And I think they start beating some serious ass at the end of the movie because Trump supporters have guns and they like Walmart.
Well, that's a generalization because a lot of left liberals have it.
Right.
Explain Antifa and,
right.
Sort of thing. But I think what it basically is people getting upset because, oh, that's not the way it is. But the thing is, with releasing a film like that today, right. It does address the balances of what's going on. Okay, yeah.
Wasn't there a movie, forgive me for not remembering the title, but it's an older movie where somebody was hunting down human beings, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
It's called The Dangerous Game that came out in the 1930s.
Right.
But going back to the hunt, basically what it does is it does address, okay, yeah, liberals are not going around killing Trump supporters, but what it does show, what it is that an allegory basically about if you have a difference of opinion from someone else, they will hammer you down and try to eradicate you. Okay, they might not be using guns, but they can eradicate you in different ways. So that's why it's very important, like a film like this, to be released. And going back to Blazing Saddles, it's very important to address these kind of issues by throwing it into someone's face, because you're addressing the issues of what's going on. So
I think the difference, though, is that
yourself
it's funny. I don't think The Hunt is meant to be funny.
No, but you got to remember that when it comes to art and films and stuff like this, address issues to make you understand your place in the world. And though The Hunt may use horror to do it, and Blazing Saddles is doing it with comedy, they're both doing the same kind of thing. And the thing is what you're finding out is if you're an overt racist and you find that overt racism is funny, then there's something a bit problematic with you. And as far as Blazing Saddles, because what you're doing is you're laughing at the white people. You're not laughing with the white people in this film. In The Hunt, you're not rooting for the liberals shooting the Trump people. You're rooting for the symbol, like how come they let it get this far. So basically, what you're doing, you're rebalancing it through different mediums.
Right.
And I think that's where Blazing Saddles works really well, because it does bring up all this kind of stuff. It does show how stupid the KKK is. It does show, I think another thing that Blazing Saddles is that no minority or subgroup in society is left safe.
But the one thing about Blazing Saddles you have to admire is that Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder are still friends. They are, one's white, one's black, and they do, laugh about stuff, and they do form a huge, close friendship, and that does get represented quite well in the movie. So there is overcoming serious, stupid bullshit. So.
Their chemistry together in this film is absolutely perfect. From the moment they meet to the very end. And I think the scenes where it's Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder are some of the best scenes in the movie. When he's in the jail cell, and what is it? He says, are we black?
Yeah.
It's like, are we
yes,
awake?
We are.
Well, we're awake, but we're very confused. What do you like to do? I don't know. Screw, play chess. All right, let's play chess.
Yeah.
I also like Harvey Korman is a sight to behold in this film.
Yeah,
as well.
He's funny. I wonder how many outtakes they had to do with him, because how can you do it seriously? And him and Madeleine Kahn, especially,
Well,
the frog in the bathtub.
The froggy.
Where's my froggy?
Well, Mel Brooks was saying that Harvey Korman, he likes to ad-lib a lot. And he said, though it was problematic, he says there's so much footage that they couldn't use because of the ad-libbing. And if you look at Carol Burnett and her fond memories of Harvey Korman as well, is that they would have a hard time keeping straight face because he would go off script while they were filming live for Carol Burnett.
That would explain a lot.
Another interesting thing is, him being Hedy Lamarr.
Hedy Lamarr, yeah, Hedy.
So that's quite interesting.
Wasn't Madeleine Kahn? She was doing a spinoff on Marlene Dietrich, was she not?
Yeah, Madeleine Kahn is one of those actresses that is so talented. She has a 3-octave voice. She can actually sing. They asked her to sing a bit flat for this because they wanted to bring in that Marlene Dietrich look. But her first film was just prior to this was actually What's Up, Doc, with Barbara Streisand and Ryan O'Neal. That was her first film.
I haven't seen that in eons. Wow. And
this brought her around to here. And then she started becoming a regular for Mel Brooks. So she starts appearing in a lot of Mel Brooks films until her death of cancer, quite relatively early. But
it's a shame.
Yeah, but it's quite funny because if you see Madeleine Kahn, it's like you're so used to seeing her in the movies, but if you ever see her when she's normal without any makeup on and just saying, she looks totally different. She looks more like Mary Stuart Masterson than she does like what you picture her to look.
Which isn't bad, by the way.
No, it's a very good thing.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I think my favorite part of this movie is when they were trying out, everybody was trying out to be the bad guys. Rape. He goes, why do you keep talking about rape? I like rape. And then they see the KKK guys with have a nice day smiley faces on the back of their bed linens. And they're trying to get him to come over there. And he goes, where are the white women at? Probably my favorite thing. My favorite line ever. Where are the white women at?
This movie is so quotable. I quote
oh my
it
God, yes.
once a week in my day-to-day life. And I work in an office full of young women who are anywhere between 15 and 20 years younger than me.
They have no clue
And
probably what's going on.
They have no
with you.
clue. And they're really big into films. They're really big into classic films. But it's almost like this film, like their parents all like omitted this film from their upbringing for some reason. I asked it was just this last week, I asked someone to
Ever
do
heard of
something
it?
for me. And they wouldn't do what I asked them to do, and I just kind of cocked my head and said, "You do it for Randolph Scott." And they had no idea what I was
you were
talking
They're probably
about.
saying, what in the fuck is this guy talking about? Yeah, I mean, my kids have never seen this. I don't believe my kids have. And I mean, I don't know how well this would translate into our decade, actually. We probably need more stuff like this in our decade to make people laugh.
It
It's
could
just
be the
like,
key.
Come on, please.
It could be the key to everything. We hijack the next, State of the Union address and put this film on instead.
Exactly.
This could be the thing that solves everything.
One would hope, because it's so well done. It really is.
I mean, looking at it from today, to be honest, I've never actually seen the film all the way through. This is the first time I've actually watched it all the way through.
Bad.
And well, the thing is, for me with Mel Brooks, I have a love-hate relationship with him, and there's a couple great films that I've seen of his, and there's been some really films that I didn't really connect with. So, and I guess what I did was I went and bought the Mel Brooks box set on Blu-ray, and it has everything in it. And so I have been rewatching his other stuff at the moment. I think it's because I think being older now, I appreciate Blazing Saddles, and I find it a lot more funny, where I think when I was growing up, I kind of watched it and it's like, for some reason.
You didn't have that life experience yet, though, either.
Yeah, it didn't really resonate with me too much. It had nothing to do with, the N-word or anything like that. It just,
right.
But I was always been anti-Westerns. I'm just not a Western person. I try to watch Western films and I just can't get into it.
I love Westerns.
And I think for me, that's probably the reason why Blazing Saddles never really made me sit down and actually want to watch it. So
my grandfather loved Westerns. Well, he was off the olive oil boat, and to the day he died, he spoke broken Italian, but he just loved John Wayne every Saturday. You know how TV was back then at our age, but he wanted to watch John Wayne movies all the time, and Yul Brynner and the Magnificent Seven. I was brought up on that stuff, so I just love Westerns. I'll sit there. My daughter will go nuts. Why are you watching The Searchers, all 4 hours of it? I go, because I love it.
Yeah, see, the only Western I ever liked was Cat Ballou, and I think that's more for Jane Fonda than anything. And Lee Marvin is the
probably. Yeah, I like Cat Ballou.
And going back to whether or not this would work, I guess Seth MacFarlane tried his best to use this same formula a few years ago with Million Ways to Die in the West. And I don't remember that doing too well in the theaters.
I don't remember that movie, actually. No.
When it came out on home video, I immediately bought a copy without even watching it. And if you're into Seth MacFarlane, if you're into Family Guy and I guess Ted, his other movies, then it's right up your alley. It is pure 100% comedic gold, but it did not go over well at all with the general public.
Was he trying to use like an equation of some sorts with Blazing Saddles, sort of, kind of?
There's a lot of similarities. It's a Western, and there's a lot of fourth wall breaking, and it's Seth MacFarlane. It's Family Guy set in the Old West, pretty much. It's Seth MacFarlane, Liam Neeson, Charlize Theron. How are we saying her last name this week?
I know. I don't think I've ever pronounced her name correctly in any way. I don't think I have either.
But sometimes I kind of wondering if it has to do with the West, because Western films don't really do that well anymore.
I think Silverado was the last one that did well.
Well, I mean, you did have like Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. I'm not sure if it was a box office gold, though it was.
It was a good movie, though.
It was an Academy favorite. I guess Dances with Wolves, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But if you look at recent, there's, outside of, television seems to do a little bit better with the Western than films do. I mean, because we do have.
I don't even think anything's on that's
Deadwood.
Western-like anymore, except for reruns of Rifleman.
There's a really good one called Yellowstone at the moment that just started.
I didn't see that one.
Apparently that's just started. But I mean, but it's quite funny. But we still get Westerns. It's just that they're not set in the Old West. They're not horse operas, are they? They're same themes, but they're done with more of a cop and robbers kind of theme. I mean, if you look at your crime novels, they are Westerns, really. If you think about them,
right?
Whether you're watching Heat with Al Pacino or The Godfather's a Western, really. It might be set in mafia, but it is these crime things are
kind of sort of, yeah. It's a good way to look at it.
So I guess maybe but then again, we don't have a pop. Movies are made for the younger generation anyway, and it's been 30 years since a major Western. Probably Young Guns is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, that's true. Can't forget Young Guns 1 and 2. Which I will watch every time it's on.
The last time I saw a Western in a theater might have been Cowboys and Aliens, and I don't even know if you.
Oh my God, I forgot about that one. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was going to be like really bad, but it was like really good in a really bad way.
Yeah.
But it was good.
But then again, I mean, we do have, maybe the Western will make a comeback because Westworld is going into its third season now. And Westworld is.
Oh God, I love Westworld. Don't even get me going. Yeah. It's positively what you'd say brilliant. I love Westworld.
Yeah. So maybe, who knows? Maybe the West will come back to their screen sometime soon. I mean, I think, for me, watching Blazing Saddles earlier this week, I think it's as fresh as probably it came out when it came out in the 70s. Watching it, as a newbie, it was fresh. It was funny. Nothing of it is dated whatsoever. There's nothing dated in here. Like what you do get with some comedies, whether it's 70s comedies, 80s comedies, or even 60s comedies, that some of them don't date very well. And this film hasn't dated at all. And I have to sit there and say with Mel Brooks, you do get that with Mel Brooks comedies that they don't really date. High Anxiety dates a little bit, but we'll get into that later. But if you look at Young Frankenstein hasn't dated at all.
No, and the movie hasn't dated, but humanity's mentality really hasn't dated either, and I find that slightly sad.
I don't know. Where there's hope, there's flowers growing somewhere. So.
Well, I have to sit there and say that Isaac is quite liberal-minded. He's quite open to stuff like this, and I guess if he's probably more of a millennial mindset than myself because I tend to be more conservative. And he watched it, and he's English is his second language, and he found it funny. He said it was brilliant. He loved it.
Oh, good. It's nice to hear Isaac like that because Isaac really is that kind of person. I mean, he's open-minded. He's not crazed. He's not a fanatic, but he is open-minded.
But I do think that, if a younger generation saw it, I don't think they would be offended by it. I think that
I don't know.
I think we're making the assumption that they would only because of what we've been told. But
the N-word being said, I don't know how many, 75 times.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's the way it's being said. I mean, it's not like it's a KKK film, and and they're saying let's kill them and let's get rid of them because they're subhuman. That's not the way it's used. And I think that even though the words, when you first hear the word, you're kind of like thrown back a little bit because of its incognation. Means.
I mean, we've been ingrained. It's been instilled in us to like cringe every time someone uses that word.
Yeah, I was watching.
At the same time, it's used in rap music all the time. So
right,
yeah, but it's okay for them to use it in rap music. We're not supposed to say it. White people aren't supposed to say it.
Well, I think it's how you use it, isn't it? It's a bit like if you're going to misgender someone, if you accidentally go, "Excuse me, sir," and you don't know that they're a man, that's different than "Excuse me, sir," like that, and you do it like.
Oh my God, I've actually done that before. It was so embarrassing.
And I think in this sometimes as the film, I think it works fine. I think because the point that it's getting across is that it's wrong and it shouldn't be used, and that's how it's being used. And And so the best way of using that word is by if you use it in the incantation that is being used in this film, I think it gets its point across. So that's why I don't think it's offensive.
I'm trying to find the name of the actor of the old man, the old crusty man that was like the miner or whatever. He's up on top with the telescope, and he's trying to announce, that Cleavon Little was coming, the Rock Ridge sheriff. And every time he tries to say the N word, he goes, he's no, that's all you hear because of the band playing, and he's trying to get across to everybody what's coming.
Wasn't his name in the film? First of all the white people in the film, their last name was Johnson.
Right? Oh my God! Yes, Howard Johnson, something else Johnson.
I think his character's name was Gabby Johnson, and he goes off on the rant in the church, which the church scenes are great. Anyway, it reminds me of the church I grew up in, which is also sad. But Gabby Johnson is right, and I'm so glad these young people were here to hear that message today. Not only was it authentic frontier gibberish.
Yeah.
I mean, I was quite surprised that Alex Karras was Mongo.
Yeah.
Because I didn't recognize him as Alex Karras at all. It's only afterwards, like, oh my God, that's Alex Karras. If people don't know the name, if you're a fan of Victor Victoria, he plays the bodyguard for
who's gay.
James Garner in that, and
the gay bodyguard.
Yeah, but I love Mongo. But I guess you could take offense to that because Mongo is a mongoloid. So.
Though Mongo was philosophical, though, don't forget.
But he was quite intelligent behind it all. He's like, you think Mongo, he's quite stupid, but then he has most of the most philosophical statements in the whole film.
Mongo only pawn in Game of Life.
Yeah. Alex Karras was also a football player, so that's the kind of dude we're talking about.
Now, I do think, to be honest, I don't think the black population, the young population, is going to have a problem at the beginning of this film at all. I think where the far left might have a problem would be when the film breaks the fourth wall. And we got the homosexuals dancing, and I think out of this film, that's probably the only thing I know that they probably would go out.
That song has been stuck in my head for like 2 days now.
I can sing DeLuise. I can sing it right now without even reading it. That's how it sticks out.
It does.
If this was a video podcast, I would even do the hand motions too. That's how well I know this.
What do you think about the breaking the fourth wall? Did you think it was good in the film, or did it catch you by surprise, or is this like...
If you haven't seen it before, it kind of catches you by surprise because you're really not supposed to know they're filming kind of, sort of. Like, you know what I mean? They're not on Warner Brothers set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think they're on location in the middle of the West somewhere, and
it's one of the best parts of the film. It's
brilliant. It's so fun. It's so funny. I mean, and that guy's he's sitting there, he's going, "You bully!" And he's sitting there pounding him on the chest.
He starts crying. But then we do get the gay dancer in Cowboy. Then they go behind. The next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, so we go and have dinner."
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm parked over by the commissary.
Yeah.
So
then you have the part where Hitler's sitting there and they're eating lunch or whatever in the commissary. And
I don't think you can have a Mel Brooks film without something to do with Hitler or something to do with Nazi. I think it's it's really like Alfred Hitchcock appearing in every one of his films, and Mel Brooks you always have like this German Hitler or something to do with a Nazi soldier somewhere in there, sort of thing. So it's almost like a signature piece, sort of thing. I had to sit there and say that what caught me a bit by surprise is that when they break through the fourth wall and then they go, and I've never actually seen this before, and I said that it works very well, is that when you got Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little basically showing up at the movie theater and Blazing Saddles is shown, and they go inside and they watch it.
Because I'm going to see how this ends. Yeah.
And I thought that was quite interesting, actually. It was quite, that's what I quite like about Mel Brooks. He's always pushing that envelope a bit further and a bit further and a bit further. and it works. It shouldn't work at all, should it? Really, if you see it down on a piece of paper and they said, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, you're thinking, what the hell are you doing?
On paper, it probably wouldn't look good. I agree.
So, but I also like what's also quite interesting is that then when we go back into the West again after they breaking the fourth wall, and then you got Cleavon Little basically goes, okay, I'm going to go off and fight injustices throughout the world, and everyone shouts bullshit at him. And then he rides his horse away from the town. And then I thought it was quite interesting. He gets off his horse and gets down a limo, and the limo drives him off the set.
Right. They park their horses. Someone comes and gets their horses, and they just, I love Blazing Saddles. I can't say enough about it. I mean, it's just funny. And the thing is, you don't really get a breath in between funny. No. Because it's just one after another. Not
at all. There is no boring part to this movie at all. Even the briefing with the governor is still.
Oh my God, what's he saying in his shirt? Oh, Gov, G-O-V in the back.
And he's got the paddle and the ball, and he can't do it right. And he's like, this goddamn thing's defective.
I think Harvey Korman goes, no, it's not.
And then you got Harvey Korman and Madeleine Kahn, together, Lily.
Well, I mean, we all know what von Stumpf means. We all know what Stumpf means in Yiddish, don't we?
No, I do not.
Stumpf means to fuck.
Okay, that's great.
Like, I'm going to stumpf her. I'm going to fuck her. I'm going to go and stumpf. So Lily von
Stumpf. Schwanstucker.
So basically, von means with, so it's got Lily will fuck. That's what her name means.
What is it? The Teutonic? Was it Teutonic tits? And then was it Harvey Korman ends up calling her a Teutonic twat somewhere in the movie?
Well, the best thing is like, oh, I'm going to make myself more comfortable.
Comfortable.
She comes back and she's wearing nothing.
I'm going to slip into something more comfortable. I love Madeleine Kahn. I just wish she was alive. God love her still. She was such a wonderful actress. She really was.
I mean, she was fantastic in Clue. She was fantastic in, Murder by Death. She was fantastic in, what about Young Frankenstein?
Yes.
Oh my God, Young Frankenstein. No, but sheep. Or don't even get me going on that one.
I mean, I had to sit there and say that if you are a Madeleine Kahn fan, the best thing you want to see is that she, if you can find it, it's really hard to find, but she co-hosted a Saturday Night Live, Madeleine Kahn did. And one of the best sketches is that she's dressed up as the Bride of Frankenstein, and they're all filmed in black and white, and she's singing I Feel Pretty. And he has like Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi and everyone coming in as the villagers trying to burn her to death. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic sketch. So.
I mean, it is true, though. There's just not a breather in this movie. I mean, I don't know how he wrote this. I don't know how the writers got together and did this. Well, Richard Pryor is brilliant as well. But, I mean, it's a shame they wouldn't let him have a part in the movie. It was because he was in trouble for drugs and stuff. I don't know if that was prior to him setting himself on fire or after the fact. What happened?
He set himself on fire in the 80s, so it's quite a few years.
So it was a few years before. But, I mean, the comedic. I know, but the comedic, it's just one thing after another and one situation after another, like the rail car, and they leave, Cleavon Little, and I can't remember the actor's name that's with him. You guys correct me or remember, where they're in the quicksand. And they're going, oh my God, they're trying to like throw a rope to him, but they're after the car. He goes, well, yeah, the car costs $500 and leaves the two men in the quicksand because they're black. Yeah. It showed how it did show some light on how indifferent people were towards maybe their lives and where their worth as human beings. So, I mean, it was funny, but yet it makes you think, like the movie does make you think. I mean, it did make me think as an older person watching it for I don't know how many times. But it sinks in more when you have a little more life experience. Wow, this is funny, yet it does shed light on some serious issues.
Well, I mean, it even shows like issues like when you have the flashback and you got, Cleavon Little's family, in the covered wagon, and they're going across, and the Indians are attacking.
Rodney Allen Rippey.
they're attacking all of them, and they look at their family and go, "You got problems enough. We're gonna leave you alone."
Yeah, because they got blacker skin than we got, darker skin than we got. And Yiddish, even a Yiddish Comanche
Indians.
chief.
But I have to sit there and say that after watching this film, I am a convert. I can actually watch this film over and over. I actually watched it twice since watching it. And every time I see it, I see more and more to laugh at it. And that's why I think it's comedy gold. It's a shame that I hope it's not being shown because of an agenda, that maybe it's being shown because it's too old. Because let's be honest, we don't really get films from the 70s being shown on television that much anymore.
Well, they cut the hell out of it, though, on TV. I mean, you can't say that word. You just can't.
Well, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, network television's kind of changed now from, I remember when it was first shown on network television, I think it was CBS. I think it was like on a Saturday night or something like that, movie of the week sort of thing. And yeah, it was cut to pieces. I mean, I don't, but I think now.
Lots of dubbing.
But, I think nowadays, I don't think, I think now that when they cut films for television and stuff like this, they look at context now instead of words. So I think that maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest, there's plenty of places that they can show it. I mean, HBO.
Oh gosh, Netflix, Amazon Prime, you name it.
Precisely. So, but if you notice that none of the Mel Brooks films are being shown at all, so it's really hard to find them on regular programming.
I don't find it easily in regular programming. Like I said, both movies that we're covering, I had to go back in and rent them because it just.
Now, interestingly enough, in April 4th, 1975, there was a pilot for a spin-off of the show called Black Bart, and it starred Louis Gossett Jr. and Steve Landsberg as Bart and his drunkard sidekick. And if you buy the Blu-ray of this, it is featured on this. I did watch it. And they use the same language that they use in the film. And I would sit there and say for a 30-minute sitcom, it was kind of strange to hear it in a 30-minute.
I don't remember Black Bart, though. I remember hearing about it, but I do not recall watching it.
It basically was just a pilot. It didn't go, it didn't get sold. It was written by the same people who did Head of the Class, that ran from 1986 to 1991. They were going to go do 6 episodes, and yeah, it kind of got dumped at the end of the 1975 series after about 6 episodes. I think it was just kind of, it probably wasn't right for television at that time. Thing. And it's, it's kind of like, it's a bit like when they used to take like popular movies and make a TV series out of them, whether it was Planet of the Apes or Logan's Run or, and you kind of watch it, and it just, because you have no one affiliated with the original at all in it. I mean, the Apes, we got Roddy McDowell carry through, but it just didn't. Lou Gossett Jr. is a brilliant actor, but it was just kind of, it just didn't.
Sort of like Enemy Mine. That movie just didn't do it for me. With Lou Gossett Jr.
Well, I mean,
it's always had a problem with those spin-off television series that came from movies, except for the Highlander. I think they did that one.
I love that. I did like that.
But there's very few. I mean, I guess Alice doesn't live here anymore. They made a TV series out of that called Alice, which I think Alice, the TV show, was actually better than the movie, the Martin Scorsese film, because Polly Holiday was brilliant in that on his flow. MASH. I guess MASH is probably a good one, but it's very few that any of them.
MASH also kind of, when you think about, well, I'm sure you guys recognize that they addressed race issues and ethnic issues and things like that.
But that was the 70s again. I think 70s.
Do you think that was just where we were becoming, it was like a wake-up call where we as a society becoming aware that this is bullshit that is going on in our own backyard?
No, I think what happened in the 70s is that the writers writing in the 70s, whether it was for Kojak or comedy series as a whole, or anything like that, I think they were more intelligent writers. They didn't talk down to people. They talked up to people.
That's true. I can agree with that.
I mean, if you watch anything, if you watch The Jeffersons, if you watch All in the Family, if you watch Maude, if you watch MASH, if you watch
Good Times,
Good Times. If you look at the television series Hill Street Blues, like I said, was like late 70s, early 80s, and shows like that. They talked up to you. It's like, and even Mary Tyler Moore and Carol Burnett shows and things like that. They talked up to you. They didn't talk down to you. And now I think that, if you look at, okay, let's take, for instance, this film here. This film addresses a lot of issues dealing with race and stuff like this. Now, The Purge, the first Purge, tries to deal with the same thing, and it just fails miserably. dealing with the same.
First Purge, the prequel. I've tried to get through it. I still have not sat all the way through it. I can't do it. It just loses me, and I just don't have any interest or feeling for any of the characters. You know what I mean?
And I think we're films today and television sufferers is that I don't think they know how to do it in an intelligent way. They'll do it as they're preaching at you, and that's what they do nowadays. They preach at you. Where back then they didn't preach at you. They go, "This is what it is," and basically, we don't need to preach at you because you're more intelligent than that. And I think now they dummy things down for us to a certain extent, and I think maybe that's where we've gone slightly wrong.
Because everybody's offended and their feelings get hurt. You can't talk about anything anymore. So what do you do? Yeah. That's the way writers are going, I guess. I mean, they're just walking on eggshells, and maybe they're afraid to address the significant issues in our society.
So, Chad, do you want to talk about your final thoughts of Blazing Saddles before we move on to the next film?
This is definitely in my top 10 films of all time. You've got... They range from Ghostbusters to The Empire Strikes Back, and they all seem to come out in that same time frame too. Let's say mid 70s.
True, that's true.
Mid 80s, maybe late 80s as well. It's just as funny today as it was being a 5-year-old and watching it, not understanding anything that was going on. It plays to all races, all ages,
it does.
Both genders. It might be a perfect film if you can just see it through open eyes.
Yeah.
And it should come in the mail. It should come in everybody's mailbox.
Exactly. I agree with you on that.
Free samples of Tide and a copy of Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
It should be a neighborhood welcome packet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
What about yourself, Vicky? Final thoughts on...
I agree with Chad. I think that it should be mailed out to everybody as well, and everybody needs to watch it and laugh and just slap each other on the back. And you're right, it might be a perfect movie because I can't really find any issue with it because, I mean, if I'm like in a really down mood and I throw that in, I just laugh, even if I just watch the first 20 minutes and that or fast forward to any of Madeleine Kahn's parts, like where she's, turning off the light and she's trying to seduce, Cleavon Little. It's just hysterical. I mean, there's just one after another. You don't get a breath in between laughs. And I mean, if you're in a really crappy mood, put on Blazing Saddles and hopefully you'll have an open mind enough to laugh at it because it's just funny. And I think it would resonate today to millennials and to the other generations and stuff because it addresses the issues and it laughs at them. So.
And myself, I've gone from the fence of being an avid fan of this film. I think Blazing Saddles is an important film. I think it's also very good to have a comedy film that's been made, 1974. It's Mel Brooks' second film. He made one earlier before this, and this is his second film. And it's one of those rare species that there's no slow moments at all. Every joke lands. And you can't really say that about a lot of comedy films, whether it's Naked Gun or Airplane or any of the other films that you look at. I mean, a lot of them hit, but then sometimes there are quite a few that don't hit. And right. Blazing Saddles, as far as it's pure comedy gold. Every single joke hits, every single nuance of the whole film hits, and it has a whole satirical version of it. And I think it's a pure winner. So that brings us on to High Anxiety. High Anxiety is a 1977 American satirical comedy film produced and directed by Mel Brooks again, who also plays the lead. This is Brooks' first film as a producer and the first speaking lead role. His first lead role was in Silent Movie. So basically he did have a lead role before this, but he didn't speak. So he speaks to this one.
Right.
Veteran Brooks ensemble members Harvey, Korman, Cloris Leachman, and Madeleine Kahn are also featured. The film is a parody of suspense films. Most obviously, the film's directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Spellbound, Vertigo, Psycho, The Birds are all played in here.
Right.
Another. The film was dedicated to Hitchcock and worked with Brooks on the screenplay, and later sent Brooks an expensive case of wine as a token of his appreciation. Now, some little tidbits about the making of this. This was Mel Brooks wrote the script and sent it to Alfred Hitchcock, and Alfred Hitchcock loved it. He thought it was fantastic. The only thing that Mel Brooks has any kind of feeling that he wished he had the money to do is that Hitchcock gave him a joke that he should use in the movie, but it was too expensive to do. And that basically was that Alfred Hitchcock said, what you should have is a man who's running away, and he's running and running and running, and you see the cargo ship look like it's pulling off. And so the man's rolling and he jumps off the pier and he lands on the cargo ship only to find that the cargo ship is actually arriving, not departing. And Mel Brooks really wanted to use that and was unable to do this. When the movie opened, of course, we said what Alfred Hitchcock did. Alfred Hitchcock loved it. He took his whole family to it. And Mel Brooks, until Alfred Hitchcock's death a year and a half later, they were really close friends. And they would go out to do dinners with Alfred Hitchcock and stuff like this. And Alfred Hitchcock loved this film a lot. So he loved that it was dedicated to him and stuff like this. As far as the making of it goes, a lot of the film was made in San Francisco due to Vertigo being made there. And they tried to hit a lot of the same spots that some of the Alfred Hitchcock films
The Golden Gate Bridge.
The Golden Gate Bridge, the sanitarium sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut to a commercial break and the trailer to High Anxiety, and we'll be back after a word from our sponsor.
Okay, Bradley, tell the class about your holidays.
Yeah, it was really good. My dad built us a new kitchen. It's got wooden bench tops and some stupid self-closing drawers. There was a dishwasher that was a real and even a breakfast bar. Mum thought Dad was a massive.
Get a kitchen installed without teaching your kids new words. Visit ikea.com.au. We can plan, deliver and install the whole thing for you.
One of the world's greatest psychiatric authorities is suffering from high anxiety.
Hello?
Get away from the door.
We're dealing with sick people here. You understand? Dangerously sick people.
Where is Brisbane? Oh, I'm sorry. Where is he? They took him to...
What's your sign?
I'm sorry. It's unlisted.
No, wait, you don't understand. It's very clear to me. I got to give in. My anxiety. And remember, folks, be good to your parents. They've been good to you. You win.
Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I have a bunch of favorite movies. I watch them all on Shudder.com for only $4.99 a month.
That's a scary low price.
But if I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably be Scream.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the only streaming service that lets me watch hundreds of horror movies on demand.
I'll be right back.
Hello? Hello? to subscribe? Hello?
Go to Shudder.com to subscribe, if you dare.
Hello, welcome back to Literary License Podcast. We're now discussing High Anxiety, the 1977 Mel Brooks comedy classic. So, Vicky, what are your thoughts of High Anxiety?
Oh, I thought it was brilliant. With all the Alfred Hitchcock that we've been doing lately, and just seeing the interface with the movies that that Mel Brooks acted with his comedic overtones, like High Anxiety, I'm assuming is standing for Vertigo.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it. And then he does the little, the cartoon. I don't know how to explain that, where he's like going down the tunnel and he's like falling, just like Jimmy Stewart was in Vertigo, that he was afraid. And I can relate to High Anxiety because I am horrified of heights, but I still do stupid stuff just to overcome it. But I just think Mel Brooks is just funny no matter what. It wasn't my favorite movie that he did, but there's so much in it to laugh about. And Madeleine Kahn, I'm trying to remember the character in High Anxiety. In Vertigo, she played with the long blonde hair. Oh, what's her name? Tippi Hedren.
Kim Novak.
Kim Novak. Okay.
Kim Novak.
And she's got the long blonde hair, and she's trying to be the sexy blonde bombshell, yada, yada, in the movie. Like I said, there just can't go wrong with Madeleine Kahn. I just adore her. And Cloris Leachman. I don't know what kind of Madonna boob action they had on her that and her and Harvey Korman doing the bondage shit. I just like, come on. Just funny. What do you think, Chad?
This was I recently watched this movie for the first time this week. I'd never seen it before. I'd heard about it and seen it when I was looking at Mel Brooks collections, but no one that I knew personally had ever mentioned this film. It wasn't as popular as Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein or Dracula Dead and Loving It. It was just one that I'd never had an interest to see before until this past week, and I loved it. I found myself laughing often. My first really big laugh was another fourth wall break where they're zooming into the dinner scene and the camera goes through the window. Yeah. You didn't expect it. It kind of made me jump a little bit, and I laughed so hard. My son come running downstairs. He's like, what? And I said, you've got to see this, and I backed it up for him, and he laughed as well. It's so funny. And when the rock gets thrown through the window from the welcome note from the violent ward.
Yeah. Keith can relate to that. People probably throw rocks through his window work all the time.
It was done very well. It was written very well. Of course, Cloris Leachman, once again in a Mel Brooks film where they want her to look as horrid as possible.
As wretched as possible. Talk about Nurse Ratched. There you go.
Yeah. She was such a beautiful woman, but when you put her in a Mel Brooks film, they have her looking horrendous. And Harvey.
That's
Korman.
what's great about Cloris Leachman. She's so adapted to anything she can do in any film. She just gets right into it. And did you notice the slight mustache that she had too?
Yeah.
She had a slight mustache, and she had bazooka boobs. Like missile tits or whatever you want to call them. They were pointed.
What about the lipstick on the teeth as well?
Yes. I don't think they realized at some point that we would have high definition. We'd be watching these older films in high definition, and we're able to see a lot of the things that they were trying to get away with as far as special effects goes, like the ketchup coming out of Dick Van Patten's ears. It's clearly ketchup instead of blood.
Poor Dick. Yeah. Dick Van Patten, he doesn't have a big part in this, but he's such a puss. He goes, I don't feel comfortable about doing this anymore.
And then I think the only lacking thing of this, I think that where Mel Brooks kind of missed the mark a little bit, I think he should have tried to get Bernard Herrmann to do the music.
You think?
Yeah,
It's only because like you have like the Dick Van Patten spoiler alert here but like his murder sequence when he's in the car, and it does emulate Psycho when she's in the car, and it really does miss that do with the windshield wipers going. And
That's right. Yeah, you're right. And then he's in what is it? And then was it? Mel Brooks is in the shower, and the guy comes after him with a newspaper and starts stabbing him with a newspaper.
Or they're driving down the road and the music changes, the dramatic music changes, and they do the pause and the look, and then the Los Angeles Symphony is going by them on a bus.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah, that was great.
I even like one of my favorite sequences is like when the camera's going up through the glass coffee table and they're having coffee.
Yeah, okay. What was the deal with that? I'm trying to remember what movie that was from.
Well, it's not actually from a lot of this. I mean, to be honest, a lot of high anxiety comes from a movie called Spellbound with Gregory Peck, which we didn't actually cover in our podcast. One of the only ones we didn't cover. But what Alfred Hitchcock, what has more of a send off is Alfred Hitchcock liked to shoot things looking upwards because it gave you an askew version, and then also and when he would shoot upwards, it would show like how important this person thought they were, and that's the reason why he would do that. So this is pretty much a piss take of that. But but Alfred Hitchcock also used to like to like you said with the dinner scene coming going through, and then the doors would open and it was a clean cut shot, where here is basically just a piss take of like doing one thing in one shot. And normally what you have the actors like moving things around, but not doing it in a natural state, where here you have Cloris Leachman and Harvey Korman just putting things down like they normally would. And the camera's just trying to get out of the way, trying to figure out where to put
they were kind of actually shoving food and tea and shit in their mouth as fast. They're kind of gluttonizing things a little bit too. So
I mean, another one of my favorite scenes in this is that if you're late, you don't get fruit cup.
Yeah.
And then we get, then they're all at dinner time sort of thing. And then, and then Cloris Leachman goes, start now. And everyone's starting. She gets the fruit cup taken away. And Harvey Korman comes trotting down the stairs in his morning suit, fully pressed, looking fantastic, really looking eager for his dinner, sits down, puts the napkin in, and takes a spoon and goes to eat, and he realizes it's not there. And then what Cloris Leachman does with her fruit cup is like she uses them with it and then like starts slurping on it.
I gotta find the outtakes of these movies. I know they're probably out there on YouTube somewhere.
Well, they said there's a lot of outtakes for this one. There's a lot of things they couldn't use. There's like this one scene that Mel Brooks was talking about in this one film where it actually shows the BDSM sequence where Cloris Leachman's outfit basically is she's got like this colonial bra on, but it's made from like snake wires.
Yes.
And but she's wearing like a nude suit underneath it, and then Harvey Korman's on top, and he's being bopped up and down on top of her. And it's like this S&M outfit.
I just don't know how they could even get a scene done like that with the chains, like Harvey Korman, and she had him bondaged all up and stuff. I mean, I don't know how you get through something like that with him without trying to get your lines out.
From what Mel Brooks was saying when I was watching some documentaries on the making of this, is that they had a hard time with Cloris Leachman and Harvey Korman because they each would try to outdo each other.
Right.
And he says they got like 100 hours of outtake footage of them just trying to outdo each other because they would just ad lib all the time. They'd just go off on one. And he said he could make its own movie just on their outtakes alone. So.
Oh man, such a shame they're gone. Such people, they don't make them like that. I know that's the cliche statement, but
Cloris Leachman's still with us. She's 98 years old and she's still going.
But Harvey Korman, Tim Conway, people like that. I mean, just irreplaceable comedians that just never, you got to love their stuff. That's why I hope that some of the young people that out there listen to us to go and watch some of this stuff. I mean, it's just great. You just can't get enough of it sometimes. I can't. And again, I'm old, as Keith keeps telling everybody out there in podcast land.
I mean, another interesting thing about high anxiety, Mel Brooks was also saying when high anxiety came out, it is a term that he made up. But now he goes, psychiatrists around the world use the term high anxiety now to describe people with vertigo.
Well, it describes it's true. I mean, when you get up somewhere, it's really high. You have anxiety. It happens to me all the time. I mean, I have to force myself to do shit. So I mean, it's a struggle. It's real.
I mean, I think with high anxiety, I love high anxiety. I guess this is probably the first Mel Brooks film I saw, but I think the reason why I saw this I saw this actually before Young Frankenstein. And I think the reason why I saw this because I was a huge Alfred Hitchcock fan. And so I had to see this. But I was quite tickled, and I didn't know this until, doing research on this, that Alfred Hitchcock saw this film and he loved it, and he partook in it. He was going to do a cameo scene in it, but unfortunately he was not feeling very well on that day, which would have been brilliant if he did make his little cameo.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That would have been great.
I thought Braces was funny. I don't know if they were taking it off on James Bond, but the guy that had braces, and he was trying to kill him throughout the movie. He's trying to impersonate. Oh yeah, he impersonates Thorndike, and he shoots the man in the lobby. Then he pulls the mask off.
Cloris Leachman riding the broom all the way down.
Oh, I know. I didn't notice that the first time I watched it. That's the first time I noticed that.
This is something that you'll find a bit interesting. Is most of the people that were playing parts were actually people who were working on the crew of this movie. And one of the crew members on here was a person named Albert Whitlock. If you don't know that name, you probably should, especially since looking at old Alfred Hitchcock. He did all the matte paintings in every single Alfred Hitchcock film.
Oh wow!
Oh,
and he plays Madeleine Kahn's father in this. And they asked him to play the father. They go, okay, this way. And so what they did, and Barry Levinson, the famous director's in this as well. He plays the bellhop guy. Barry Levinson, who won an Oscar for Rain Man and won an Oscar for. So that's Barry Levinson.
Newspaper was pissing him off, and that's why he stabbed him. He was the bellboy, right? When he kept bugging about the newspaper, he wanted the morning paper or something. He finally got pissed off and decides to. Then the ink's running down the shower drain after he accosts him with the newspaper.
Mel Brooks says the bellhop's not getting a tip.
Yeah.
But even Rudy DeLuca, who played Braces, the killer in it, he was one of the cameramen doing cameraman work for Alfred Hitchcock. He was Alfred Hitchcock's cameraman.
I didn't know that.
So that's what's quite also interesting when you start doing a little bit of research in this, you actually realize that it's a dedication to Alfred Hitchcock, but using people that Alfred Hitchcock worked with at the same time, which makes it quite fun. Though I did find the Charlie Callis segment of being the Cocker Spaniel, I thought that was a bit weird.
Yeah, I didn't understand why that was placed in there. I know it was funny, but I was trying to find out where it came from. Was it something that was coinciding with another movie, and I couldn't find anything. So apparently it was.
It's almost like maybe he was friends with Mel Brooks and goes, okay, I'm going to put you in a movie. Okay, I'll do you can do this scene. I don't know. It was kind of odd. Out of all the Mel Brooks films, I think when this film hits with this comedy, it hits really, really hard and very funny. But then there are some bits that don't actually quite hit as well.
Right.
His mark is like something as like Blazing Saddles, which we just covered.
Right.
Blazing Saddles hits every mark out. It hits everything out of the park. Every single joke is hit out of the park. Here, sometimes I think that there are some things that don't hit as well.
Right. I agree with that.
And I think that's when they venture away from the Alfred Hitchcock side of things. When they just venture into something else, I think that's where it misses its mark sometimes.
Yeah, they padded the runtime quite a bit with the pigeon scene, where the pigeons are chasing him and
pooping all over him.
Yeah,
I love that sequence. Which I didn't realize is that they train those birds to, like when he's running away and you see those birds flying with him. Those birds are really there,
right?
Sort of thing. And I was quite shocked at that because I always thought that, like in the birds, when we saw the birds, a lot of that was, as we know, was blue screened in the Alfred Hitchcock ones. And here they used the same bird trainer as the birds, but he's gotten better at his game, so he was actually able to have them run with the actor and stuff like this.
Pigeons are pretty intelligent, they say, though.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually with all the all the Alfred Hitchcock references, but actually using all the Alfred Hitchcock people to film it as well. All the camera crew in the background were people who worked with Alfred Hitchcock. All the sound people were the people who worked with Alfred Hitchcock in this film, and all that sort of stuff. So I think that Mel Brooks really did his homework on this, and actually that's how it makes the film. I think it is a classical standard, but I do think that there are some things that either don't hit as well as I said before.
5% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which that isn't too bad.
I do think that there's some scenes they could have ran with a bit further. like the Madeleine Kahn when she gets the phone call from Mel Brooks and she thinks it's a sex call.
That's
great.
And I think they could have gone a bit further with that sort of thing, because just as she's getting into it, it's kind of like it ends sort of thing. And
right.
You know, because she's like, oh, this is good. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No. She's like offended and then kind of getting into it. And then she's like, oh, it's you. Sort of
yeah. Well, I love it. Yeah, she can play out anything.
Yeah, she's fantastic. It's kind of sad that she never actually got a movie on her own.
I wonder why that is. I mean, did they think she just couldn't carry herself? Because I think she could probably carry herself in any movie, really.
Yeah, or maybe a simple fact that maybe she did a lot of stage work. She was a big Broadway actress. And there's a story about Madeleine Kahn, because everyone knows Madeleine Kahn for her movies, as you said, Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, High Anxiety, Clue, Murder by Death, etc., etc. But what they don't know is that her singing voice, and there's a song written by Leonard Bernstein called Glitter and Be Gay from a musical Candide, and it's one of the hardest songs to ever sing. And for Leonard Bernstein's birthday, she went out onto Kennedy Center and sang it right straight through, and everyone was like in awe. And apparently, like, if you want to hear the song sung the right way, the only version is Madeleine Kahn's version, because apparently she's so talented and she's so far above anything out there. She could play funny, she could play dramatic, she could sing, she could do it all. And maybe that sometimes if you're a bit too talented, maybe sometimes it's hard to find the right material for you. Maybe.
Right.
So
that's true. It's a shame though you don't see her in more, because she really, I mean, as a comedian though, I mean, she definitely kicked it. And you can tell, like, as in Blazing Saddles, when she was singing that one song where she's tired. I'm so tired.
Can't you see
really
she's sick?
Tired from down below. But I think, but we do get a musical number with Mel Brooks and singing High Anxiety.
I know. I actually thought that was really good. I mean, it was Frank Sinatra-ish almost.
Yeah, I thought Sinatra.
He actually pulled that off.
Well, he does a wicked Frank Sinatra impersonation. So this is his Frank Sinatra impersonation.
That's what I'm saying. He really pulled it off.
So I mean, there's also some fantastic scenes in this as well. I love the what's the name of the professor? Old man.
Oh, yeah,
Professor.
Professor Oldman, but you can call him Old Man.
Professor Old Man, sort of thing. Now, another thing that's quite interesting that Mel Brooks put in this as well is that Mel Brooks was kind of like a doctor. And he knew every single medication. So when people would get sick, he goes, don't go to the doctors. You want to take this, this, and this, and this. And he lets us play through. And, so all those drugs that he's talking about are actual drugs. And he didn't actually do any research on that. He just knew what drugs they were that these people, medical patients on. And to be honest, listening to him from a psychiatric point of view, he had all the drugs completely correct. So I thought that was quite interesting. So...
Of course, Roger Ebert didn't like the movie. I don't think Roger Ebert liked anything back in the day.
I think with Roger Ebert, well, I mean, he did write Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, so. Which is one of my favorite movies, but I think it's one of my favorite movies not because it's a great movie, but because of some other, weird thing that I have inside my brain that works.
Right.
I think, Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel was a bit like this as well. Sometimes I figure that sometimes...
Well, Gene likes everything, though. Roger never did, sort of.
Unless it was a Friday the 13th film, and then they talked about how they were on that rampage about getting horror films banned and stuff like this.
Right.
I think Roger Ebert sometimes, I think because he wanted to be a film writer, and I think that sometimes I think he would use that against people sometimes, because it's like, oh my God, I could have done this. I could have done it better. Maybe that's sometimes, maybe he reviews things from that point of view, because some of the films that he does review and gives a bad word to, and then they come out, and then he always changes his opinion that once it comes out and it becomes a huge success, and all of a sudden it's like, now he says, oh, I liked the film a lot. It's like, well, no, that's not what you originally said. So what's going on here? he tends to change his opinion as well from his, if it becomes a hit or something like this.
Right.
Some
That's
anything.
true. In retrospect, yeah. He did kind of flip flop sometimes.
It is nice to get that cover blurb from time to time.
Yeah, well, even if you get a bad review, you can always take out what, I know a lot of film posters will take like a bad review and then take out the words like, this film is really good, except for, and they'll go, this film is really good, Biden.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So what's your favorite bits of High Anxiety? What was your favorite scene in Self?
Myself or Chad?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chad.
Go for it, Chad. What's your favorite moment?
Favorite moments in the film were the small things. It was a lot of smaller things. Like I said, the fourth wall breaks. The scene where at the end where Cloris Leachman runs to try to kill him and goes over the edge and pulls out a broom and rides it all the way down. Just those slapstick moments that we rarely get in movies nowadays. Just classic Mel Brooks.
I like the Hyatt Regency scene where he's going against the wall, like he's pasted himself against the wall. And then it seems like every chance they get, he's almost pushed over the wall, because we've all been in like Reunion Tower and places in there down Dallas. You got the glass elevators. And I mean, I find myself to the back of the elevator, looking down, when you're going up and down, things like that. And they do have that where they just have the balcony walking things to get all to your rooms in some of these hotels. And in all honesty, it's just like I've kind of pasted up against the wall trying to walk to my room too. And it just seemed like every time, was it the bellboy or whoever is coming out with the cart or something, almost knocks him over. Yeah, he's like, there's always something like that. One of those moments where, because I mean, if you're afraid of heights, seriously, you can relate to this in a comical way, because I don't do heights most of the time. And like I said, my daughter's always trying to push me and force me into things, to get me up on whatever. But like I said, I mean, you can conquer these things. But I mean, it was just those little moments like that. And it is filled those little moments. Like I said, the one part I really enjoyed probably the most was the bellhop stabbing him with a newspaper in the shower, and the ink goes down. And you know how what was that? Oh gosh, why can't I remember his name today? In Psycho.
Anthony Perkins.
And
Lee.
Yeah, Janet Leigh. She's laying down on the floor. She's dead on the floor, and you just see her eye, and he's doing that in this movie, also mimicking Psycho, and the thing from the newspapers going down the drain. So it's just things like that. But it's not his fastest film by like Blazing Saddles. Let's face it, Blazing Saddles is going to be hard even for Mel Brooks to outdo. In his own work, because he just outdid himself on that one. But this one has a lot of moments in it. It's funny still. There's a lot of chemistry between Madeleine Kahn, Harvey Korman, and Cloris Leachman in it, especially Cloris Leachman and Harvey Korman. I mean, the bondage and the dominatrix is just, and they make her look, like Chad said, so ugly in this movie, sort of like in Young Frankenstein. I don't know what the hell she's supposed to look like in that, but I mean, they just make it so she's not attractive. And Harvey Korman, she's kind of mean to him, but he's loving it because he's into bondage. He was, I'm getting so hot for you right now. In one of those moments. But I mean, it's got anything in it. What about you?
My favorite is also the one that doesn't quite work in this film, but it's also one of my favorite scenes.
Cocker Spaniel?
No, it's the opening 10 minutes. Because the opening 10 minutes, I like the opening 10 minutes a lot, and I find there's so many little things in there that makes it kind of go. But to me, it comes across like an airport film, like Airport 77 or something like
right.
that. So it doesn't quite fit in this Alfred Hitchcock world. But you get him coming off the plane, and you got like all the little stuff that's going on here, and then going through, and you got like the guy who's pretending he's a cop. He takes him to the bathroom. So you got that little bit of comedy. Then you got him coming out, and you got the woman coming after him with whatever's in her hand. I thought it was a cucumber or something. But then at the end of this whole thing, and it's filmed beautifully. You have like the tiles in the back, and you have all this thing, and it's like building up this anticipation of what's coming. And then at the end, when he finally gets to the sidewalk, he goes, "That's the most dramatic airport ever." And for me, I thought that I love the whole sequence in itself, because it's kind of like a movie within itself. But at the same time, it really doesn't fit into the Alfred Hitchcock world that we're supposed to be entering. So I think that he kind of got that wrong. But for some reason, I do really like that scene. So it's kind of like this really mixed emotion for me.
Well, as soon as he gets off the airplane, he hands the stewardess his bag, his barf bag. You know?
Yeah. I mean, and the only thing that I think that for me, another thing that doesn't quite work for me, I think that Madeleine Kahn goes from being great to being a little bit of a window dressing here. From what we see.
Well, they got her all sexied up. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but I think that and I just think that it could have done more with her. I think that, we got, before this Blazing Saddles, she's fantastic. She sticks out in every single scene here. And I think that we also have her, sticking out in Young Frankenstein when she appears in that, and other films that she does with Mel Brooks, she does stick out. For some reason, I think this part for her is a bit underwritten, and I think that they could have done more with her, considering that she has to play off Cloris Leachman, who steals the film. I think Cloris Leachman steals this whole film, sort of thing. Is there anything that didn't work for you, Chad?
There were hit and miss with a lot of jokes in this movie. I'm not a mega huge Hitchcock fan. There's a lot of Hitchcock movies that I've never seen, but I still understood what they were trying to do. The opening sequence, like you said, was I thought was really funny. It did kind of remind me of maybe Airplane or something like that.
I think that was the point.
Yeah, it's there were several parts of this though, and I don't maybe it was the editing, maybe some of the cuts that were the movie. Whereas you watch Blazing Saddles, it doesn't really feel dated. It still feels very modern, and this movie it seemed like it's dated now.
A little bit. You're right. I don't think it's aged well or translated well.
I don't think it was the writing. I don't think it was the delivery. I think a lot of it might have been the production.
Yeah. I do have to agree. I think that the opening sequence is more like an Alfred Hitchcock opening sequence. I think we could have, I think it would have kind of got you into it. And I do think that if you look at Alfred Hitchcock, I mean, he made 80 some odd films. And it seemed like this one took one of his films, most of the jokes in this film are from Spellbound. And, but we do get a little bit of Psycho, we get a little bit of Vertigo, and we do get a little bit of...
I kind of thought it was kind of pointing at Vertigo more than anything else.
Well, it's only the title, basically, of Vertigo.
Well, when you're looking at it like downtown with the tower, and then you got the Golden Gate Bridge, and, I thought, well, maybe it's just because, I don't know, maybe I was looking for Vertigo because of the name of the movie.
Well, most of the scenery was Vertigo, but I'm talking about as far as storyline goes, it's kind of like... the shooting of the man was from North by Northwest,
right,
and so on and so forth. And I do think that maybe if they concentrated more on some of the bigger films of Alfred Hitchcock that everyone does know,
right,
sort of thing, maybe it would. But yeah, I have to agree. It is a hit and miss film. I do enjoy the film a lot, but it's hit and miss.
Right.
So, Chad, do you want to give us your final thoughts of High Anxiety?
For my first viewing. This movie came out in 1977, which, Star Wars came out in 1977. You place those two films side by side as far as like you're rewatching. And I could see myself watching this again, perhaps to show other people.
Right.
As a tool, someone, like myself that's just now beginning to get into the Hitchcock films. Something to play that alongside, just kind of break the monotony of watching so many films, and something satirical to go side by side with it. I could probably watch this with someone else. Watching it again on my own for pure enjoyment, I don't know if I could do it again. And there's a couple of Mel Brooks movies that are like that. Like I wasn't a big fan of Robin Hood Men in Tights.
No, me neither.
I wasn't. Now I don't know why that one. I don't know. That was maybe it was too cliche of a movie, I guess. It didn't have any depth to it.
Right.
I mean, it had its moments, But
it was cliche for the time in which it came out. You know, you had Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and I mean, they opened that movie with a rap sequence with Dave Chappelle. So I understand what it was trying to do, but it just missed the mark. And there were quite a few things in this movie that missed the mark. I mean, I guess if I'd watched it in 1977 as an adult, I probably would have enjoyed it more.
What about yourself, Bix?
I thought it had a lot of good comedic moments in it. Like I said, it's not my favorite Mel Brooks movie, but I don't have a hard time watching it at all. Like I said, I'm a huge Madeleine Kahn fan, and I really like to see as many movies as I can with her because I really think she was an untapped resource in so many ways. She should have done more movies. You know, it's just a shame that she died before she could have really fulfilled that, that role in no, well, you say theater, but in movies. Yeah. But I guess the theater, she loved more than she did movies, perhaps. But other than that, I thought it was all. I think it's funny. I liked how it correlated with the other movies that Hitchcock made because Hitchcock was brilliant, and we covered so many of his movies. So those of us that have followed this thread through our podcast over the last several months, you could probably enjoy it because you also can see the correlation and the comedy and why he did what he did. And there's Cloris Leachman with her missile tits. So, but I thought it was funny. I would suggest it. I mean, it's not one of the movies I would watch over and over like Blazing Saddles, but it's up there.
And I think that I like this film a lot. I think if it wasn't for Cloris Leachman and for Harvey Korman, who very much carry the film, where I think we're Blazing Saddles, everybody carries that film.
Right.
Every single character in that film carries the film. Young Frankenstein, every single one of those characters carries a film. Even the producers and Silent Movie, all those people carry those films. And I think we kind of got two strong people. And I think Mel Brooks does an okay job. I think it would have been more fun if he could got Cary Grant or James Stewart to play that part.
Yeah, that would have been great. Actually, that would have been cool.
And give it a little bit of a nod that way. I don't know if if he offered it to him or not like this. So Mel Brooks isn't bad, but I think he works better when he's supporting cast and a lead character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that. I was going to say that earlier.
Maybe that's the issue with the film. I couldn't put my finger on. Maybe you just said it.
And I do think that they could have pushed the Alfred Hitchcock thing a little bit further. But saying that, there are some fantastic moments in this film that it's not a bad film whatsoever. I do enjoy this film, but compared to what I've seen of Mel Brooks within the last couple weeks, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, producers, History of the World Part 1. I've also watched Spaceballs, etc. I think that this one doesn't come across as one of his best films, but it's still a really good film.
Yes.
Sort of thing. So this brings us to the end of our podcast for Blazing Saddles, 1974, and The High Anxiety, 1977, both Mel Brooks comedy classics, one more of a classic than the other. So before we go, Chad, how can people find you on social media, and where can they find your latest books?
The best way to find me on the internet is through my website, cderekmiller.com. I have all the links to all the different social medias. It's a one-stop shop. You can purchase the books from there as well. My newest novel, Extinguished, was released 2 weeks ago. Through the month of August, if you purchase a copy, half of your purchase will be donated to first responder organizations through the month of August, trying to help those guys out. So I will be at KillerCon Austin next weekend, if you can make it to Austin. If not, Fort Worth in September, Spooky Spectacle. I'll be pushing my wares, kissing babies, and shaking hands. So I'd like to see some.
And what we'll do is, for anyone that is interested, they will be in our newsletter. So sign up to our newsletter at www.llpodcast.com and join our 200,010 subscribers. So you make sure that you're into our newsletter. And we'll also have the information available in our show notes, which of course you'll find on where we're broadcasting on, which is Intune Radio, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Cashbox, YouTube, podcast, SoundCloud.
Have we missed anything, campers? Just let us know. We'll get
And you
on
have
there.
an Alexa, make sure you go to Alexa, play the Literary License podcast, and Alexa will play that for you now.
My Alexa was starting to go off when you were saying that, by the way.
Next week, we'll be covering the final Alfred Hitchcock episode, which is North by Northwest. And then, of course, we'll be doing our season finale at the end of August. And, of course, we'll be going into season 3, which we have a lot of surprises for, which we'll be discussing more in our season finale. Just remember that we're all going to go and nurse our psychoses. We have plenty of them on hand. We got neurosis, neuroticisms. We get everything. That's what we love about the Literary Podcast, because we're all sick fucks in our podcast.
Yes, we're all fucked up.
So what we like to say is good night. So let's say good night, Chad.
Good night.
And good night, Vicky.
Good night, everyone.
And we'll see you next week for North by Northwest.
What's your name?
Well, my name is Jim, but most people call me Jim.
Oh, hey, Jim. Since you are my guest and I am your host, what are your pleasures? What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Here I stand, the goddess of desire, set men on fire. I have this power. Morning, noon, and night, it's drink and dancing, some quick romancing, and then a shower. Stage door Johnnies constantly surround me. They always hound me with one request. Who can satisfy their lustful habit? I'm not a rabbit. I need some rest. I'm tired, sick and tired of love. I've had my fill of love. From below and above. Tired of being admired. Tired of love uninspired. Let's face it, I'm tired. I've been with thousands of men again and again. They promised the moon. They're always coming and going and going and coming, and always too soon. Right, girls, I'm tired. Tired of playing the game. Ain't it a crying shame? I'm so tired. God damn it, I'm exhausted. Hello, cowboy. What's your name?
Tex, ma'am.
Tax man. Tell me, tax man, are you in show business?
No.
Well, then why don't you get your friggin' feet up? Hello, handsome. Is that a 10-gallon hat, or are you just enjoying the show?
Oh, Miss Lily. Oh, my lovely baby. Oh, my pussycat. Oh, put it there, baby. Put it right.
Tired of playing the game. Ain't it a crying shame? I'm so tired.
She's tired.
She's tired.
Sick and tired of love.
Give her a break.
She's had a fill of love.
She's not a snake.
From below and above.
Can't you see
sick. Tired. She's bush. Tired of being admired. Let her alone. Tired of love uninspired. Get off the phone. She's tired. Don't you know she's pooped?
I've been with thousands of men, again and again. They sing the same tune. They start with Byron and Shirley, then jump on your belly and bust your balloon. Tired of playing the game. Ain't it a friggin' shame? I'm so, let's face it, everything below the waist is kaput.
I must have killed more men than Cecil B. DeMille. It got pretty gritty. I started to hear the word draw in my sleep. And one day, I was just walking down the street, and I heard a voice behind me say, "Reach for it, mister." I spun around, and there I was, face to face with a 6-year-old kid. Well, I just threw my guns down and walked away. Little bastard shot me in the ass. So I limped to the nearest saloon, crawled inside a whiskey bottle, and I've been there ever since.